Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today I am again with you with a new class, new topic, that is cyclotron. We are dealing with magnetic effect subcurrent, and this is for class 12th. So let me first tell you what is cyclotron. Cyclotron is a device which is used to accelerate heavy charged particles such as protons, neutrons, alpha particles, etc. All these particles have positive charge at very high energies. They are accelerated to such an extent that their energies become very high. The first cyclotron was designed and put into operation by Ernest Lawrence in 1932 in California, USA. The first cyclotron was designed and put into operation by Ernest Lawrence in 1932 in California, USA. So as like other devices, our device has a principle, then we have to discuss its construction, then working. So whenever you are asked to define a device, you must know its definition, what it is. You must know its principle on which it is working and its construction, and then you must know how it works. So I told you what cyclotron is. If you anybody asks you what is a microscope, you will tell them uh, the magnifying glass which increases the size of the image. Similarly, if anybody asks you what is cyclotron, you must tell him that it is a device which is used to accelerate charged, heavy charged particles. So what is its principle? The principle on which a cyclotron works is based on the fact that an electric field can accelerate charged particle and a magnetic field can throw it into a circular orbit. As in the last chapter, we discussed Lorentz force. If a charged particle finds itself in a region where there are both electric and magnetic fields. So, what is the role of electric field? Electric field will accelerate the charged particle, it will increase its velocity. And then, what is the role of the magnetic field? The magnetic field will put it into a circular orbit. Now, let us discuss its construction. A cyclotron consists of a hollow cylinder. It is made up of a hollow cylinder and made up out of copper. The cylinder is split into two evacuated chambers, D1 and D2, and these chambers are called Ds. These Ds are placed horizontally with their diametric edges parallel and slightly separated from each other, as you can see from the figure. The Ds are connected to high frequency oscillator. Oscillator means transformer which you are using in your homes. Oscillator is the transformer which can produce a potential difference of the order of 10 raised to 4 volt. Remember, this is a very high potential difference. In our homes, we use the transformers which can produce a potential difference of just 200 to 220 volts or 300 volts, not more than that. But this is the oscillator, this is the transformer which can produce a potential difference of 10 raised to 4 volt, means 10,000 volt at frequency 10 raised to 7 hertz. As you know, the frequency in our homes, it is just 50 hertz. So this oscillator can produce a potential difference of 10 raised to 4 means 10,000 volt at a frequency of 10 raised to 7 hertz. The two Ds are enclosed in a steel box and are well evacuated from it. These Ds are put into a steel box and are well evacuated from. It means there is no air in the steel box. The box is placed in a strong magnetic field, means it is placed between the two poles, north pole and south pole of a strong magnetic field. The magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the Ds. The magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the Ds. The ion source deuterium, say deuterium, is placed at the center of the cyclotron, and this ion source or this deuterium, it is bombarded with high energy electrons to produce many positive ions of free deuterons, which emerge, which come out of the Ds from a hole in the ion source, out of the ion source from a hole, and are available to be accelerated. So this is the figure. It shows you the construction of this cyclotron. You can see there is an oscillator, means it is nothing but a transformer which produces a potential difference of 10,000 volts at frequency 10 raised by 7 hertz. Then this is a cylinder, and you just see the lid of the cylinder, the upper face of the cylinder. This is the upper face of the cylinder. So the cylinder is divided into two halves, and each house is known as D1 and D2. And where the point P, there is a ion source. At point P, there is an ion source. Say deuterium is placed at point P. And N and S represents the north and south pole of two magnets, so that they can produce a magnetic field. So we see that this the electric field is produced by the oscillator. Remember this thing: the electric field is produced by the oscillator, and magnetic field is produced by the two pole pieces, north pole and south pole. So this deuterium is in an electric field, but still it is at rest. When it is bombarded with an electron, so that free deuteron is produced. Now the deuteron is in motion, and we know that deuteron has a positive charge, and it is now moving, and it will experience both electric and magnetic force. So far, when it was at rest, it was just experiencing an electric force. Now it is in motion. When we bombard it with an electron, it comes into motion, and it will experience a magnetic field as well. Suppose that a positive ion emerging from the ion source finds itself in D1. When it comes out of the source through a hole, let us suppose that time the deuteron was in D1. It can be also in D2, but we suppose that at the first it is in D1, which is at negative potential at that instant of time. So remember this thing, this oscillator, it changed its polarity. It changed its polarity. D1 will be sometimes at positive polarity and sometimes at negative polarity. Similarly, D2 will be sometimes at, when D2 is at D1 is at positive polarity, that time D2 will be at negative polarity, and when D2 is at negative polarity, that time D2 will be at positive polarity. So they change their polarity. And as I told you, when this deuteron finds itself in D1, let us suppose that at that time D1 is at negative polarity, means it has a negative portion at that instant of time. Therefore, the ion will be accelerated towards the D1. On reaching the D1, the ion will be in a field free space. On reaching the D1, it will be in a field free space. Hence, it moves with constant speed. It will move its uniform speed, because it will not be accelerated, because there is no force which will accelerate it, because it is in a field free space. But due to magnetic field of strength B, the ion will describe a circular path. The ion will describe a circular path of radius r in D1. The magnetic force experienced by a charged particle is given by Fm is equal to QVB. Actually, it is QVB sine theta. As I told you, theta is here 90 degrees, so sine theta will be 1. Now, the centripetal force experienced by a charged particle is given by Fc is equal to mv square by r. So when anybody is in a circular motion, it has a it experiences a centripetal force, and you might have read about it, centripetal force in class 11th. It is given by Fc is equal to mv square by r, where v is the velocity with which the particle is moving, m is its mass, and r is the radius of the circular path. So centripetal force is equal to mv square by r. The magnetic force Fm is balanced by the centripetal force. So centripetal force tries to take this particle out of the circular path, and magnetic force tries to bring it towards the center of the circular path. So as long as these two forces are equal, the particle will remain in a circular path. So this Fm is balanced by Fc. Therefore, Fm is equal to Fc, which implies QVB is equal to mv square by r. This implies r is equal to mv square by QVB is equal to v and v will cancel, 1v and 1v will cancel. So r will be equal to mv by QB. Let us denote this equation by 4. Time taken by the ion to describe a semicircular path is given by t is equal to pi r by v, because we know that velocity is equal to distance by time, which means distance is equal to uh, velocity into time, or time is equal to distance by velocity. Here distance is equal to pi r, that is the circumference of semicircle. We know that the circumference of circle is 2 pi r, so the circumference of semicircle will be pi r. This implies t is equal to pi upon v into m v q b, which implies t is equal to pi m by q b. This implies t is equal to pi by b into q by m is equal to constant. This shows that because m is constant, we know the mass of the neutron is constant, charge of neutron is constant, magnetic field here it is uniform magnetic field, it is constant, pi is constant, so time t will be constant. This shows that time is independent of both the speed of the ions and the radius of the circular path. Time t does not depend upon the radius of the path. Greater the radius of the path, time it will take the same time. Smaller the radius of the circular path, the time will be constant. It will not increase or decrease. So similarly, if the velocity of the neutron is greater or lesser, the time taken will be same. In case the time during which the positive ion describes a semicircular path is equal to the time during which the half cycle of the oscillator is completed. As I told you, the oscillator changes its polarity every time. So if half cycle of the oscillator is completed, and that time is equal to the time taken by the neutron to complete a semicircular path, then as the ion arrives the gap between the two D's, D1 and D2, the polarity of the D's is reversed. That is, D1 becomes positive and D2 becomes negative. Therefore, the ion is oscillated towards, ion is accelerated. It is not oscillated, it is accelerated towards D2 with greater speed, which remains constant in D2. Thus, the positive ion will go on accelerating every time it comes into the gap between the D's, D1 and D2, and will go on describing circular paths of greater and greater radius until it reaches the outer edge of the D, where it is pulled out of the cyclotron by a negatively charged deflector plate. Let V naught is equal to maximum velocity of the positive ion, R naught is equal to maximum radius of the positive ion. Then from equation 3, QVB is equal to mv square by R. This implies QV naught B is equal to m V naught square by R naught. It is not R0, it is R naught. This implies QB R naught by M is equal to V naught, which implies V naught is equal to QB R naught by M. That is denote this equation by 5. Now maximum kinetic energy, we know that kinetic energy is 1 by 2 mv square, so maximum kinetic energy will be 1 by 2 mv naught square, which implies kinetic energy is equal to 1 by 2 m q b r naught by m the whole square. So kinetic energy is equal to q square b square r naught square by 2m. If t is time period of the oscillating electric field, then t is equal to 2t, which implies t is equal to 2 into pi m by qb is equal to 2 pi m by qb. The cycle of frequency is given by nu is equal to qb, nu is equal to 1 by t. We know that frequency is equal to 1 by time period, so nu is equal to qb by 2 pi m. It is also known as magnetic resonance frequency. This frequency, the cyclotron frequency, is known as magnetic resonance frequency. The cyclotron angular frequency omega c is given by omega c equal to 2 pi nu. This is the relation between angular frequency and linear frequency. That is mu omega is equal to 2 pi nu. So when we substitute for nu, we get omega c cyclotron frequency angular frequency is equal to 2 pi qb by 2 pi m, which implies omega c is equal to qb by m. Now limitations of cyclotron. The first limitation is if the speed of positive ion becomes comparable with the velocity of light, means if its velocity increases to the extent that it is nearly equal to the velocity of the light, then its mass increases according to Einstein's relation. E is equal to m naught by under root of 1 minus v square by c square, where m naught is rest mass of the deuteron. Now we know that from equation equation T is equal to pi by q b q by m. T is equal to pi by q b m. You can see it above, below equation 4. We have derived the expression for T. So T is equal to pi by q b into m naught by under root of 1 minus v square by c square. Let us denote this equation by 10. From equation 10, it follows that if V increases, T also increases. Therefore, the ion will not reach the gap exactly at the time when polarity of the D is changed and will not be accelerated further. So, if the velocity of the ion increases to the and becomes nearly equal to velocity of light, so if its velocity becomes very high, then it will not reach the gap between two D's at the time when the polarity of the oscillator changes. So this is the first limitation. The second limitation is, so we have to remember that the velocity of the deuteron should not increase to the and should not become nearly equal to the velocity of light. It must not increase very high. Number 2, electron cannot be accelerated by cyclotron because its mass is small. The mass of electron is very small, and its velocity will increase and goes out of the setup with oscillating electric field quickly. The third limitation is the uncharged particle cannot be accelerated by cyclotron. Cyclotron is used to accelerate only charged particles, and they must also be heavy. They must have a very high mass. Thank you. See you tomorrow, inshallah, in the next chapter.